Hi, welcome back to my channel, Beautiful Minutia. If you're new here, my name is Tiffany. Once again, I am filming outside because it's too beautiful to stay inside. I'm just really digging the fall weather, and fall has come a little bit earlier to Kentucky than normal. It's actually been a much cooler September than I think people around here are accustomed to. I was gonna say that I'm accustomed to, but I've only lived here for a year, so. Anyway, I am here today to talk about my Victober TBR. Well, October in general. I have a couple books on here that aren't Victober, but I will predominantly be reading Victorian books during the month of October. If you haven't heard of Victober, which you probably have, but if you haven't, it's an event that's hosted by some lovely ladies here on BookTube. This year there are 5 hosts: Kate Howe, Katie from Books and Things, Petra Yu, Roz from Scallydandling About the Books, and Marissa from Blatantly Bookish. And each of them have prompts that you can follow if you want to, but as long as you're reading one work of Victorian literature in the month of October, you're participating in Victober, so it's great. They also have a group read this year. They're reading The Mayor of Casterbridge by Thomas Hardy, which I will not be participating in because I did just read that last summer, so not ready to reread it yet. Also, it wasn't really a favorite Thomas Hardy of mine, so I'm not sure at what point I will be rereading it, but not this year. So some of the books that I have here do fit into prompts, and some of them I'm not sure if they do, and I won't really know until I read them, I guess. But I'm going to go ahead and share with you what I am reading. I have 4 books that I am prioritizing, and all of them are buddy reads, so we'll see how that works out for me. Last year I had so many Victober reads that I wanted to get to. I actually ended up burning myself out a little bit, so I'm determined not to do that this year. I'm just kind of holding things a little bit looser, and I did not choose any like 1,000-page books like I did last year, and that was my fatal flaw, I believe. So let's dive into the books. One of the books that I am buddy reading this month is some Oscar Wilde short stories. I don't know that it will necessarily be reading The Happy Prince, but there are other short stories in here. Looks like quite a few. And I am going to be buddy reading at least one of these with my lovely friend Dia from Novel Idea. And this is a prompt for Victober, is to read one Victorian short story. Last year during Victober, I read The Picture of Dorian Gray, and it was my very first Oscar Wilde, and oh my goodness, I loved it so much, so I'm really, really excited to read some more Oscar Wilde. Next up, I will be reading A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens. As much as I love Dickens, as much as I have been reading him for most of my life, for some really strange reason, I've never read A Tale of Two Cities. I tried multiple times in high school and young adulthood. Both times just couldn't get very far in it for some reason and ended up DNFing it. But it's been at least 10 years since I tried, so I am going to try it again, and I think that I'll really enjoy it. Lots of people really love it. I would say that this is one of his more beloved works and has one of the most iconic opening lines in all of literature that most people are quite familiar with. So I'm looking forward to giving this another try. I have hopes that it will be much more successful this time, and hopefully I will enjoy it a little more than my Dickens Victober read last year, which is not one of my favorite Dickens, unfortunately. But yes, I'm really excited to read this one. I am buddy reading this with Sandy from Miss Reads a Lot, who I actually buddy read with a Dickens book last Victober as well in a group of people. So kind of funny that here we are reading another Dickens together. I don't know if this counts for any prompts. I think one of the prompts is if I watched an adaptation and read a book. That's Petra Yu's prompt. And I'm sure there are adaptations to this, but I don't know that I will be watching any of those adaptations. I'm not really sure. Another prompt is like a coming of age story, and I think that's Katie's prompt. And I don't know if that has that element in this or not, and I won't know till I read it. There's no information on the back, so I don't know if that is an element of this story. The next book that I am hopefully getting into this month is The Warden by Anthony Trollope. I've not read any Anthony Trollope yet, not at all. And I only found out about him when I first started watching Kate Howe's channel, and she was talking about Trollope, and I was like, had never even heard of him, and was a little ashamed of that. So this is the first book in his, I think it's Barsetshire Chronicles, which I think has 5 books in it. This is book 1, so I'm gonna give this a try. I'm buddy reading this with Amy of Hearthridge, and I'm really excited about it. I have a couple other Trollopes that I have picked up at thrift stores over the past year or two that I will hopefully get to, but this seems like a good place to start. And the last book that I will be prioritizing during Victober is North and South by Elizabeth Gaskell. I actually read this one a couple of years ago and didn't like it all that much. It was billed to me as Pride and Prejudice but better, which I think is a very unfair comparison. I think there are similarities in the romance aspect of the story, but this story is so much more of a romance. It doesn't have the humor that Jane Austen has. I think it's a much more serious story, and so I want to read it again because I want to give it a fair chance, and I think that I will like it a lot more upon a reread. I am buddy reading this with the same group of ladies that I have read quite a few things with over the past couple of months. We read or tried to read Dr. Zhivago and A Bad Business, which is a short story collection by Dostoevsky, and then we just read Emma not that long ago. So we'll be reading this one together for Victober, and we'll be having chats in the Literary Discourse Discord, which I always have trouble saying. Discourse and Discord, the words are too similar. I'm always mixing them up, so I'll pop a link to that Discord down below if you want to jump in on our discussions. Also, this does fit the prompt for a disability, which is Kate Howe's prompt is like a chronic illness or a disability represented in Victorian literature. And I would definitely say that this has a lot of illness in it and chronic illness. So I think that this would qualify for that. But also, I think we might be doing a watch party for the mini series, which I'm really excited about because I've heard a lot of people, even people who haven't read the book, say that it's like one of their favorite mini series of all times. So I really do want to check that out. So it will also count for watching an adaptation. Okay, so those are my main books that I am going to be reading during Victober, but I do have a few other books that I either hope to get to or have kind of in the sidelines backed up in case I get to them. So one of those books that I do plan to get to is some Poe. I buddy read quite a few Poe short stories with Kelly from Cozy Reader Kelly last fall, and we're gonna read a few more of them during the month of October, so don't see any reason why I shouldn't be able to get to them because his short stories are quite short for the most part. So I'm looking forward to reading some more. Kelly had like a list that she sent me of ones she wanted to read, and I don't think I've read any of them, so I'm really excited about that. I also have a couple other possibilities for some Victorian reads if I get to them. One of which is The Return of the Native by Thomas Hardy. I have been trying to get to this book for months and just have not gotten there. So this would be a good month to pick it up, but I'm kind of like not holding my breath. It is on my classics TBR, but so is The Warden and A Tale of Two Cities. So I'm at least going to be knocking a few off that list this month, but this is an option if I am especially prolific with my reading this month, which isn't looking good because I think September is one of the slowest reading months I've had in a really long time. But just throwing this on here as an option. I try to read a Hardy a year, and this would be my read for this year whenever I do get to it. Also, I am participating in the Read Your Bookshelf Challenge hosted by Chantel Reads All Day and the Buzzwordathon hosted by Books and Lala. So the word for October is like a secret related word, and so I had written this down at the beginning of the year. This is a book that I really wanted to read last Victober and didn't get to, and that's Lady Audley's Secret by Mary Elizabeth Braddon. I really want to read this book, and I've actually heard that it reads pretty quickly, so it is one that I'd like to try to get to, but I'm not sure. I really want to read it though. I'm throwing it on here. If I can find another word with a secret in the title, that would be a quicker read. Maybe I'll sub something out. For the Buzzwordathon, the word in the title should be like an animal, creature, something like that. So I have Tears of the Giraffe by Alexander McCall Smith. This is book 2 in the #1 Ladies Detective Agency. I put this book on my read-a-rid project because I have like 8 or 9 books from this series, and I read the first book last summer and enjoyed it, but I don't know that I'm interested in continuing the series, and so I figure I would give this book a shot, and if I like it a lot, then I'll keep the rest of the series, and if it's just kind of like fine, then I can unhaul quite a few of them and give myself a lot more room on my shelves. This is kind of like in the cozy mystery genre, but it takes place in Africa. I'm trying to remember what country. Botswana. So that's kind of a cool element to it. But overall, I love the atmosphere of the first book, but I didn't find the stories particularly riveting. So I don't know that I'll enjoy book 2 that much more. So who knows whether or not I will get to it, because like I said, I'm prioritizing those 4 Victober reads, and everything else is just kind of gravy. Last but not least, I have a book that I am including on here because when I am recording this video, I still have a few days left in September, but I don't think that I'm gonna finish this book because I have a couple other books that I'm reading that I hope to finish by the end of the month. That is An Autumn War by Daniel Abraham. This is book 3 in the Long Price Quartet. I read book 1 and 2 over the summer, and this is a perfect book for fall, I feel like, because it's even called An Autumn War and has this lovely orange cover. So I think it will also count for the Fall Into Reading challenge, which I am like loosely participating in. Don't know if I'll black out that board or not, but it's a super fun challenge hosted by some lovely ladies, Angie, Rainey, and Kelly. So I'll have their channels linked down below so you can check them out if you have not heard of the Fall Into Reading challenge. But it's super fun because it's just like a low-key bingo board and you can fill it out, and if you black it out you are entered into a giveaway, and they are having like monthly group reads as well, which I am not participating in unfortunately this year, but still want to jump in on the bingo board. So anyways, An Autumn War. At this point I'm not very far into this. I think I will be more far into it by the end of the month, but I am fairly certain that I will not finish this book in September. So I will carry it over into October. So that is my TBR for October. It's really mostly, I almost just stopped at the 4 books that I mentioned at the beginning, because if I can read all 4 of those books, I'll feel like I'm doing really well. The other books are really just extras. Oh, except the Poe short stories. I'll definitely get to those too. But the other books are just kind of there because they were books that either applied or were part of reading challenges that I'm trying to participate in, but I'm not going to stress myself out this month. I'm really good at doing that and wanting to participate in all the things and have all the things going on, and unfortunately that can really cause some issues and some burnout, so I'm trying to do better about setting some boundaries this year, and some months have been better than others, so I'm just kind of holding most of these plans pretty loosely, other than those 4 books and the Poe short stories that I mentioned at the beginning of my video. I'd love to hear from you in the comments down below. Are you participating in Victober? If you are, what are you reading? What are you like the most excited to read this month, whether it's Victober related or not? Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please hit like and also subscribe so you can continue to see more bookish content from me, and I will see you again next time.